I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Wednesday, June the 10th, brought to you in part by Zoetis. Early fat cattle sales are lower, and significantly lower. We knew that we were coming off the charity bids. They're not quite so free with those. Not quite as concerned with showing good faith here as we're getting to the point now where our box beef cutout values have dropped to below the nosebleed levels that we saw with the gouging and everything that went through the worst of the COVID crisis. They're now under $2.50 a pound, which is still pretty high considering what they're paying for fat cattle, but more reasonable than where they were at before. So we're probably, as I mentioned on your last visit, probably not going to see as much negotiated cash trade, as your negotiated cash trade has been running really high because a lot of those formulas were coming back costing considerably more than your cash sales due to the formulas including some of your dressed beef levels, price levels, and perhaps some profit sharing from your packers there. So now we're getting to the point where things are getting back to normal, so we're probably not going to see near as much negotiated cash sales this week. What's going to be interesting to see is how they handle the heavyweight carcasses, because we've got a lot of your corporate feeders that have been really suffering here, holding these big heavy cattle week after week after week and hardly selling anything, as your packers have been running to the few feedlots that still have available negotiated cash cattle there in loose hands to sell, which they're able to buy cheaper than they would if they'd have bought them on a formula basis. And we're not seeing a whole lot, haven't been seeing a lot of grid cattle trading either, but now we're going to get back to normal here. How are they going to handle the heavyweight carcasses? I realize that our formula deals are not transparent, so we're not going to be able to see really how they handle that, but word will get out and we'll find out, especially on your grid pricing, is whether they're going to take the guys' heads off on the heavy cattle that they were forced to hold on to because they couldn't get them scheduled and couldn't get them in, or whether the packers are going to kind of eat those discounts and go ahead and take those cattle. But we'll see how that works out. Your board bounced back really well on Tuesday, and let's talk about that. June live cattle futures up $2.20 at 96.32, and it's unclear why your board is so supportive here when we know that we've been under artificial fat cattle market here. Charity bids been holding it up pretty well. We know that your fat cattle prices have been falling big time, especially on your weighted averages, and we don't have a hell of a lot to look forward to as we get further into the dog days of summer, and it's been really hot down here in the southern plains. Some of these big cattle are going backwards. They're melting on these guys, and none of that bodes well for the market here. And we're gonna, even if we hadn't had the COVID crisis, where we're going to get a lot of heavy cattle hitting the market, market-ready cattle, all at the same time right here as we enter the summer months and like I say, the dog days of summer, when it's really hard to keep those cattle continuing to grow and thrive when it's so hot and they're so heavy, and it really bogs things down. But these futures markets are a lot like the stock market. Even though we haven't bounced back, we haven't completely opened up, it's just all kind of betting on the come on your stock market, as you know, your traders are encouraged by the protests and the riots, seeing all those thousands of people all over each other and nobody stopping them, having big funerals there for George Floyd and the like, and when people haven't been able to have funerals for their loved ones. But now we're thinking that maybe things are going to open up because the hypocrisy of keeping things closed is ridiculous. But we still continue to see, especially in our democratic governed states, things are closed up and we can't really open up that well. But your stock market has bounced back really well, and your ag commodities have come back pretty well also, especially on your cattle. August live cattle futures up $1.47 at 97.80. You go on out from there to your far out traded months, down just 20 cents on the furthest out to up $1.20. August feeder cattle up 175 at 134 and a quarter. September up $1.02 at 135.55. You go on out from there and you see that your far out feeder cattle futures were up 32 cents to up $1. So very supportive on your cattle futures there. Your fat cattle trade has been very minimal early this week, which normally wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility, but in the last 3 months we've been seeing a lot of negotiated cash trade early in the week. But Monday we only had about 800 head of confirmed sales, and Tuesday not a lot either. So like I say, I think we're going to start to see a lot more of your grid and formula type sales as we move on through the week. But if you look at Iowa, which was the biggest sales on Tuesday, confirmed 2,500 head, your all dress sales range from 165 to 168. You compare that to last week's sales, and that's $5 to $19 lower dressed. That's a ton lower. We might see some charity bids come back out there up to 175, or I would doubt any higher than that. But you know, that's kind of the market. 165, 166 is your dress market so far this week, but I know it's early. Nebraska, about 600 sales, a few live sales at 104, and some dress sales at 166. Kansas and Texas have not seen anything so far this week. I did hear some late reports of additional live sales at 103 with time on them. So willing to give 103 for cattle, not for this week's delivery, not for next week's delivery, but for the week of the 22nd. And I think we're going to see more and more of your 2 to 4 week delivery cattle too, as your packers know the market's going down. They're not quite as concerned with holding it up with charity bids any longer now, because the subpoenas have come down for the price gouging and the unfair trade practices. So likely they're not going to be looking into current deals right now. They're more concerned with whenever they had box beef cutout values on choice up to 477, 478, when fat cattle were bringing the same as they had been before. But if they continue to buy these cattle on time with them, I tell you guys, we are set up big time. If they buy those cattle at the bottom of the price spread and don't pick them up for 2 weeks, what happens in 2 weeks when we get there and they've got those cattle for additional captive supplies? I tell you what, it doesn't look very good. But I did hear additional late sales of 103 with time and some more 165 dress that we should see confirmed for Tuesday as we move on into Wednesday's reports. But box beef cutout values continue lower, but not in such big hunks that we saw before. It's slowing down. It's still lower, but it's starting to put the brakes on, and it's unclear whether we're going to get back to where we were before coronavirus started, which was under 210 on choice cuts. We're at 247 for Tuesday's sales. That was down 758, but they're likely going to be higher because there is more demand for grilling and to continue to fill back in from the panic buying that went on through the crisis. Select cuts, 227.95. I've said before, there's not a lot of select product out there because these cattle are heavier and they're grading at historically high levels. So not a lot of select product out there, but down $3.17 on Tuesday's sales. Continuing to be a lot of sales on current delivery with 230 loads of cuts, grinds, and trimmings. Your slaughter continues to recover, and we feel really good about that. Everybody's got to feel good about that. Your slaughter through Tuesday, 234,000. That's 8,000 higher than last week and just 7,000 less than the same week a year ago when everything was normal. Your Tuesday, just for the day, estimated slaughter was 117,000 for the second day in a row, and that's pretty darn healthy. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market. Your real-time index on DB auction late in the day on Tuesday sitting at 130.09, gaining another 62 cents. So cattle continue to sell well. in your auction markets, and it's unbelievable how well they're selling when there's not a lot of vacancy in these feedlots out here. There is good demand from your northern buyers, your northern farmer feeders, as most of them have their corn and beans in the ground now. They're looking for a summer project. They're buying cattle to put into their smaller lots, and that's filling in behind and awfully good demand, and that's where we see our best prices. You look at some of these quotes from Kimball Livestock Exchange on your online automated market report there from DV Auction, Cattle Market Central. Not a good test from last week as they didn't have a big feeder cattle auction, but look at some of these best tested weights out of Kimball, South Dakota. 182 head of the 7-weight steers averaged 745 at 145.16 on the weighted average. 229 head of 8-weight steers averaged 827 at 134.40. Very respectable. And 478 head of the 9-weight steers in Kimball averaged 938 at 122.75. Your best quotes on heifers: 200 head of the 7-weight heifers averaged 741 at 130.89. Look at some other quotes from different sales around the country. I want to give a shout out to SEMO Livestock Sales in Jackson, Missouri. SEMO stands for Southeast Missouri, but down there almost into the Boot Hill, Jackson, Missouri, there at the northern edge of the Boot Hill, and that's way over there kind of in the southeast part, and normally you don't get to see big sales selling big strings of cattle, but the new owners there at SEMO, they're doing a good job. You look at this string of cattle they sold: 57 head, 799 pound steers, bring $124 in the Boot Hill of Missouri. Watch out on Wednesday here for Farmington Regional Stockyards. That's in Farmington, Missouri. That'd be a little bit north of SEMO there. They've got a good sale for Wednesday, and you can view and bid that sale on dvauction.com, and we'll be going forward here every week for the regular weekly sale. How about some quotes out of Atkinson Livestock Market, Atkinson, Nebraska, your old reliable, right there on the yellow brick road, guys. Impressive steer quotes, and look at some of the long strings that they've got on there. All these cattle, very high quotes you'll see on there. Picked out a couple I want to talk about. 120 head of 974 pound steers. Those are big steers, guys. Bring 122.40 on a long string of them. How about these light calves also in Atkinson? 101 head of 504 pound steers, bring $187. The best quote that I found on Tuesday come out of Philip the Giant. Of course, we're not seasonally into their big sales, but I still call him Philip the Giant. Philip, South Dakota, 87 head, 609 pound steers, bring $159.50. And that's your feeder flash for Wednesday.